Should the Cowboys bench Dak Prescott for Cooper Rush? Is a headline you would normally read from ESPN, the worldwide leader, but not today. No, they're actually loving on Dak Prescott. By the way, I don't know if you saw, Sean, while we were in here in this last break, Get Up was doing their topic and their bold predictions for the season. We got Jeff Darlington saying Dak Prescott will finish the year with his highest passer rating of his career. That was his bold prediction. And then Dominic Foxworth comes in and says Dak Prescott will win MVP. So for all their talk for the last week about, hey, is Matthew Stafford going to take over? Trey Lance, like, what's this going to do to Dak? Then their same analysts today on Friday are saying he's going to win the MVP. He's going to have the best year of his career.
This is the worst I've ever seen it, and I don't know why. You have a living dynasty right now with Pat Mahomes. You don't see Chris Jones. That's a perfect example. If Micah Parsons was Chris Jones or the holdout where he's still not around the team, it'd be dominant. And the defending champs, Chris Jones is not a topic, not a sniff on television. This is the most and heaviest Cowboy dedicated I've ever seen it.
Every year they lean more into the NFL. That's fine. I mean, that's probably what they should be doing. I mean, the league is so big. It's so popular. It grows every year. And the other sports...
Yeah, but they're Cowboy intensive more than ever.
Well, I mean...
Aaron Rodgers is in their backyard this year, and they've
done plenty of Rodgers.
They have, but they're still talking more Cowboys than they ever have.
Yes, they are. But look, I mean, like they lean into it. Every year, the NFL gets bigger, and every year, the other sports get less important.
That's the job we should just quit and do. We should just go to Bristol, Connecticut, and we could be the producers and come up with the topics. Just come up with 4 Cowboy topics a day. That's what we do here anyway.
Yeah.
How do we, this radio station, the home of the Cowboys, and people complain that we talk about the Cowboys too much. We talk less Cowboys than national television.
Yeah.
This radio station collectively, amongst the 4 shows, talks less Cowboys than the 4 national TV shows that cover sports. Think about that.
It's Get Up's entire show every morning. Really they will go back-to-back segments talking different angles on the Cowboys, and then they'll do it again like 3 days later, the same topic they just discussed.
Better than talking Dame Lillard.
So ESPN...
Pick another team in the NFL. It's not that hard.
Yep, that's true.
ESPN put out they do this every year. They do their top 100 players for the 2023 season. This is not the same as the other lists that we get during the offseason of who are the top 100 right now. They're basically trying to project out a little bit.
I like it.
So somebody could end up on this list who's a rookie if they think, hey, I think this guy's going to have a good year, and I think by the end of the year we'll be talking about him like this. So this is sort of a prediction article, and they asked a panel of dozens of ESPN NFL experts, reporters to weigh in, make this list. This year, the San Francisco 49ers lead with 8 players on the list. 31 franchises are represented in all, with only the Arizona Cardinals coming up short. The top-ranked Dallas Cowboy is...
Micah Parsons.
Number 6 overall, just ahead of Josh Allen. They say Parsons has finished as runner-up defensive player of the year in voting each of the first 2 seasons, and there's nothing to say he won't be even better in 2023, even though their stat line projection for him is 11 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, which is not as good as he's been the first 2 years. But they say Parsons has 9 multiple sack games through his first 2 seasons in the NFL, tied for the most by any player since individual sacks became an official stat in 1982. I think there's 0 chance. If he's healthy the whole year, he finishes with a career high in sacks this year. He was so dominant in camp. It looked terrifying. He had totally leveled up.
Yes.
It looked terrifying. And so it's a solid pick right there. The next Cowboy on the list, number 31, Zach Martin. He's here on this list as age 32. He's up from 41 last year, so they feel better about him.
I was trying to decide if it was going to be Zach or Lamb. I was getting ready to make an argument. CeeDee's the second best player on this team.
I mean, Zach was just rated the number 1 guard earlier this year by the same publication.
99 overall. So he is projected to be, he's actually up to 31 from his ranking of 41 last year. Next Cowboy on the list, 2 spots later at 33. CeeDee Lamb. He's actually down. Even after the year from last year, they had projected him 32 last year. This year he comes in at 33.
Are they jumping other receivers ahead of him?
So it's basically they think that it looks like they've got other receivers jumping up ahead of him is a big part of it. But I mean, they've got Javon Hargrave ranked above CeeDee Lamb, which I think is a little odd. but that's where they have him. The projected stat line for CD this year, 97 receptions, 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, and then for some reason they threw in 59 yards rushing is also part of his projection here. Number 38, up 1 spot from 2022, Rain Dakota Prescott. And he actually comes in as the 9th ranked quarterback on this list. I think now we've pretty much settled in. He's fluctuated at different points. We've always said, like he can be anywhere from like 6 to 10 or 6 to 11, like people have had him there. This offseason, we've consistently seen he's 8th or 9th on every list. And so that's probably the expectation for him right now is right around there.
And you could argue if you want, and Bobby would argue the people ahead of him like Lamar and Hurts, but for the most part, I mean, everybody else that's ahead of him, maybe Trevor Lawrence because he hasn't done it long enough, but I don't think most people have a problem with anybody else ahead of him.
I don't know what ESPN's doing. Like, let me find your stats for you guys.
Who came up with this?
This is the group of ESPN analysts and NFL Nation reporters, so it's a collective vote. But this signature stat, guys, let me do your research for you. The signature stat for Dak Prescott, Prescott is the only quarterback in NFC East history to record 24,000 passing yards in the first 7 years of his career.
Very odd.
What are we doing there with that number? I can come up with so many better ones for you. The projected stat line, if this is his projected stat line, he is not the 9th best quarterback in the NFL. He's worse. He's not a top 40 player in the NFL, and there's a serious discussion in all likelihood. Their projection for him this year, 4,000 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 13 picks. If he throws 13 picks and only 26 touchdowns this year, that's a problem, I think. That's not.
What did he have last year in terms of touchdowns?
What was he up to? 20.
But again,
23?
Maybe are they?
But he was hurt for a chunk of it. And the interceptions are not totally sustainable. Now, that'd be obviously a decline from 15 in 11 games to 13 in a full season. But 13 interceptions would still be higher than he has thrown throughout his entire career. And the whole idea of this system has been, we're going to do the West Coast. Dak's going to throw a few interceptions. This is what we're looking at here. One more player from the Cowboys on the list, and he is number 100.
Diggs.
Trevon Diggs, way down, which is funny because he actually probably played better overall last year.
He really did.
And you've got to think that with Stephon Gilmore here and Deron Bland coming into form, like you'd think Diggs should have a pretty decent season. He's going to have some beneficial looks at times. But he was 78 last year. He comes in at 100 this year. They say Diggs is one of 2 players to have at least 15 interceptions and multiple defensive touchdowns over the past 3 seasons. Their projection for him is 60 tackles and 2 interceptions.
2.
I
guarantee he'll have more than that.
Is the idea that
he's going to fall into 2.
I mean, yeah, this is by
default.
He'll pick off Jalen Hurts twice, like he always does. Like that'll happen. But this is something where if Gilmore's on the other side playing at the level that you think Gilmore can, then you would think be getting a lot more targets.
I would think so. I mean, look, I think that he is a prime candidate to have way more than 2 interceptions. That's very, very low. They did an audit of this where they had some of the snubs and TJ Hawkinson who just got...
Because the Cowboys had what collection amongst the top 100 compared to others? A lot, right?
Yeah, they had the most was San Francisco with 8, but they were like 3rd or 4th most.
So they had TJ Hawkinson, Frank Ragnow, James Bradbury, and Tony Pollard was listed as a snub. Quote, incredibly productive as a receiving back. In addition to his 17 career touchdowns, he's got 121 receptions and averages an 8.3 per catch. They'll be better on offense this season, and Pollard should be a big part of their ground and passing attack. That's from Mike Tannenbaum. They've also got Brock Purdy on there on the snubs. Who's too high or overrated? Joey Bosa, Orlando Brown, Kayvon Thibodeau.
They're too high?
Too high. Trey Hendrickson, Dak Prescott. This is from
Eric Moody.
Their
fantasy and betting expert.
Yeah, Bobby had that memorized.
Wow, I just saw it. Just said Moody here. It was Moody. It's surprising to see him in the top 40 and as the 9th quarterback. He has had a plethora of playmakers and a very good O-line, but he has not been successful in the postseason and was just okay in 22. He tied Davis Mills for the most picks. There was a big drop in his yards per game and passer rating. He is still solid, but he's ranked too high. Who's too low? Chris Olave, Marshawn Lattimore, Jalen Waddle, Jason Kelsey. Who deserves to be the top 10? That isn't Justin Herbert and Travis Kelsey are your top 2.
That's the most meta thing ever, by the way. ESPN, hey guys, all vote on this list. And then, all right, now that you voted on this list, guys, let's get you guys individually and talk about which people we snubbed and which people we ranked too high. Like, that's the most meta thing I've ever heard in my life.